Imagine a Hollywood wedding so secret, it happened at midnight. Now picture the groom sneaking off to his mom's house right after. Weird, right? Well, buckle up, because that's just the start of Barbarastanwyck and Robert Taylor's wild ride. These two weren't your typical Hollywood lovebirds. They were more like a tough street cat and a pampered show dog who somehow ended up in the same cage. But here's the kicker, they actually fell in love. For real. Let's rewind a bit and start with Barbara. Before she was lighting up the silver screen, she was just Ruby Stevens, a scrappy kid from Brooklyn. And man, did life deal her a rough hand early on. Picture this. Little Ruby, barely 4 years old, loses both parents faster than you can say action. Her mom, kicked off a streetcar by some drunk jerk while pregnant. Her dad, poof, vanished to Panama like he was auditioning for a magic act. Just like that, Ruby's bouncing between foster homes like a ping pong ball. But this girl, she's got fire in her belly. By 14, she's shimmying in speakeasies during Prohibition. Not exactly after-school chess club, if you know what I mean. Life kept throwing punches, including a botched abortion at 15 that messed up her chances of having kids later. But every hit just made her tougher. Ruby clawed her way up from chorus girl to real-deal actress. Then boom! A producer named Willard Mack spots her. He gives her a shiny new name, Barbarastanwyck, and a one-way ticket to Tinseltown. Talk about a glow-up. Now, let's flip the script and check out Robert Taylor. If Barbara came from the school of hard knocks, this guy was valedictorian of Cushy High. Born Spangler Arlington, try saying that 5 times fast. He was the definition of a mama's boy from Nebraska. While Barbara was dodging drunks in Brooklyn, little Spangler was probably practicing piano scales and getting his cheeks pinched by old ladies. His mom treated him like he was made of glass, keeping him away from anything remotely rough. Forget football, this kid's idea of exercise was probably turning pages in a book. Then MGM spots him and sees dollar signs. They're thinking, this pretty boy is our next big star. But first, they had to toughen him up. Cue the Hollywood makeover montage. MGM puts him through what we'll call star boot camp. They pack 20 pounds of muscle on him, teach him to walk like a man instead of a fancy poodle, and even change how he talks. Oh, and that mouthful of a name? Gone. Meet the new and improved Robert Taylor. Because let's face it, Spangler wasn't going to look great in lights. Now, you're probably thinking these two would never cross paths, right? Wrong. Enter Hollywood's sneakiest matchmaker, Zeppo Marx. Yep, one of those zany Marx brothers. Barbara thinks she's meeting some mystery guy named RT for a dance. Plot twist, it's Robert Taylor, Tinseltown's newest heartthrob. Talk about a blind date with a capital B. But here's where it gets good. Instead of just another Hollywood fling, something real starts cooking. Barbara, the tough-as-nails Brooklyn girl, starts giving Robert acting tips. When he lands a big role opposite the legendary Greta Garbo, guess who's helping him practice every night? Yep, Barbara. They start hanging out at this tiny newsreel theater on Sunset Boulevard. But let's be real, they probably weren't paying much attention to the news, if you catch my drift. They even buy ranches next door to each other in the San Fernando Valley. Nothing says we're totally not dating like becoming neighbors, right? Their first movie together, His Brother's Wife, was a hit. But get this, critics said they had zero chemistry on screen. Little did they know, the real fireworks were happening when the cameras stopped rolling. Barbara was teaching Robert to grow a backbone, while he was showing her that not all guys would pull a disappearing act like her dad. Everything's going great until 1939, when a magazine called Photoplay decides to stir the pot. They basically call out Barbara and Robert and a bunch of other stars for living in sin. Today, that wouldn't even make people look up from their phones. But back then, it was like dropping a bomb in a church. Louis B. Mayer, the big boss at MGM, calls Robert into his office. Imagine the most powerful guy in Hollywood telling you, you're getting married. And when Mayer spoke, you didn't argue. You just asked, what color tux? So they have this weird midnight wedding. No fancy party, no honeymoon. And get this, Robert goes straight to his mom's house afterward. He hadn't even told her he was getting hitched. Talk about mama's boy problems. But here's the crazy part, even though they were basically forced to get married, they actually made it work. For a while. The 1940s saw Barbara become a megastar with movies like Double Indemnity, where she played one of the most famous bad girls in movie history. Meanwhile, Robert kept being MGM's golden boy, doing whatever the studio asked. Then World War II shakes everything up. Robert becomes a flight instructor and discovers he loves planes almost as much as he loves Barbara. He's spending more time at the airfield than at home. And then come the other women, first Lana Turner, then Ava Gardner, and Ava wasn't shy about it later, bragging in her memoirs that Robert was an excellent lover. Ouch. The final straw, Robert's filming this big Bible movie in Italy, miles away from Barbara. He falls for a woman named Leah Delio. When Barbara finds out, she's ready to call it quits. To everyone's shock, Robert basically says, "Okay, fine. Now here's a twist." Barbara, one of the highest paid actresses in Hollywood, asks for alimony. She gets 15% of his income for life, but all the money in the world couldn't fix a broken heart. Robert goes on to marry a German actress and have kids. Barbara, she never remarries. Instead, she throws herself into work, playing tough women who don't need men. It's like her real life was bleeding into her roles. But wait, their story isn't over yet. In 1964, this horror movie director named William Castle has a wild idea. Let's get the ex-couple back together for one last film. They star in The Night Walker, this spooky movie about dreams and nightmares. Robert Taylor died in 1969, only 57 years old. Turns out chain smoking isn't great for your health. Barbara lived until 1990, becoming a huge TV star in her later years. Looking back, their relationship was like something out of a movie, the tough Brooklyn girl and the Nebraska Mama's boy, pushed together by Hollywood but held together by something real. They helped each other grow. She taught him to stand up for himself. He showed her how to trust again. Here's the kicker: years after they split, someone asked Barbara about Robert. Instead of being all bitter, she just said, "He was the man I loved most in my life." How's that for a plot twist? In the end, maybe their story isn't about Hollywood at all. It's about how love can sneak up on you, even when it's arranged by a bunch of guys in suits. It is about how sometimes the person you are forced to be with turns out to be exactly the person you need. So next time you're watching an old movie with Barbarastanwyck or Robert Taylor, remember, behind those glamorous faces is a love story wilder than anything Hollywood could dream up. A story of two complete opposites who found each other, changed each other, and despite everything, managed to find real love along the way. Now that's what I call a Hollywood ending.